Today's movie is Dead Calm. And what can be said about this movie that hasn't already been said about this movie? It's got a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The year it came out, it won the Oscar, the Tony, the Academy Award, and the Grammy. All of its lead actors won Oscars. Nicole Kidman, who starred in it, also won a Grammy for singing the lead song on the movie. And none of what I just said is true. This is an Australian film, considering its lead stars Sam Neill, Nicole Kidman, and Billy Zane. Billy Zane is the only American in this film. Nicole Kidman is from Australia, and Sam Neill is from New Zealand. As I said, it is an Australian film shot in the Great Barrier Reef. It's really got only three main stars starring in it. It's about a couple, and we're going to jump right into it. It's a great movie. This is one of my favorite horror/thriller movies, whatever you want to call it, from the 80s. It's one of Nicole Kidman's early movies, and it's the movie that brought Billy Zane to the attention of Hollywood because he is so great in this movie. I mean, he is just fantastic in this movie. So it starts with Sam Neill getting back from his time in the Navy, from fighting in whatever war Australia was in the 80s at Christmas time, and being greeted by two cops who tell him his wife and taking him to the hospital, where his wife, played by Nicole Kidman, who is noticeably younger than he is. I figured their age difference one time at about 20 years. Is in the hospital. Doctor tells him his son died about the time the ambulance arrived back at the hospital, and his wife is being worked on now. They tell him to talk to his wife, and then we get the scene of the car getting in the accident driven by his wife. And his wife having that flashback while they're on a boat now. Now they kind of mumbled here, so I'm not sure what they're saying, because I was hoping Amazon had that sound issue fixed, which they didn't. That's why I rented it on Amazon, and I didn't watch my DVD of it, because I was hoping Amazon fixed some of the sound issues where they mumble a lot. It's either turn the sound up really high to hear the mumbling, and then the music's way too loud. I should just turn subtitles on. That's one of the things about this movie. They mumble a lot. So you can either turn the sound up real high and hear them, and the music's super loud, or you can just turn subtitles on. And I didn't either, so I missed several times of the dialogue. But essentially, they're on this boat trip to get back to normalcy, to go on this boat trip to try to get over the death of their child. She goes to take her medication, but Sam Neill won't let her. And then they see this boat in the distance that Sam Neill tries to radio, but he gets no answer. But they see a man in a dinghy rowing towards their boat. And this is Billy Zane, a shirtless man in a dinghy. He freaks out when he gets on their boat and tells them everyone on his boat died due to food poisoning, and a boat is sinking and is filled with water and is sinking. Well, they tell Billy Zane to go sleep, and they start looking through his things, at least Sam Neill does. And he sees the coupon looking for girls to go on this cruise with him on the boat. So Sam Neill locks the door, gets in a dinghy, and goes to the boat. Well, at some point, Billy Zane wakes up and finds a way out through the top hatch where the windows are, breaks through, knocks Nicole Kidman out, takes over the boat, and speeds away, leaving Sam Neill cut from the propeller of the boat because he was trying to jump on the boat and not leave his wife, Billy Zane, taking it over. and leaving him drifting with the sinking boat and a dinghy. So Sam Neill goes back to the boat. I know I'm doing weird things with my hands, and it looks like I'm masturbating, but I'm not. Leaving Sam Neill to take the sinking boat over, try to salvage it, and try to catch up. This is the basic premise of the movie. And Billy Zane, when Nicole Kidman wakes up, is dancing and singing along the music. So this is the basic premise of the movie. Sam Neill's trying to salvage the boat, and Nicole Kidman's trying to do everything in her power to make her boat slow down or get Billy Zane drugged up or shot or kill Billy Zane so that she can go back to her husband, essentially. Now, this takes many twists and turns, including her sleeping with Billy Zane at one point against her will, and then getting a gun to try to kill Billy Zane, which results in a struggle, and Billy Zane passing out because she drugged him before that point, and her spear gunning her dog, but trapping Billy Zane. At one point, she took the key out of the motor of the boat, threw it in the water, and her dog brought it back just before she killed her dog. Sam Neill, meanwhile, is pumping water out of the engine of the boat, trying to get the boat started because he's a Navy veteran. If you remember right, he's a Navy veteran who probably spent like 20 years in the Navy and probably was watching Nicole Kidman grow up the whole time, going, I want to have sex with that so bad, while she's like 3. So basically, it's just a cat and mouse game. Eventually, Nicole Kidman does tie Billy Zane up, lock all the doors, and turn the boat around. But they're out of fuel, so she has to get the sail up. Luckily, Sam Neill taught her a thing or two about sailing. And get back towards her husband. Billy Zane escapes, but she manages to knock him out and throw him on a small raft and let it go. And she finds her husband because he lights the sinking boat on fire. And they rejoin themselves. And they rejoin with themselves. But Billy Zane is not dead yet. He somehow gets back on the boat when Sam Neill takes a break to bring her his wife lunch while shampooing her hair and starts to strangle her. But Sam Neill pulls out a flare, shoots Billy Zane in the face with it, somehow missing his wife, who is right next to him, right next to Billy Zane. And Billy Zane goes down. This is a great movie. I mean, it's got good tension. It's a good story. It's acted really well. I mean, Nicole Kidman is great in it. She shows she's going to have a great career ahead of her in this movie. And she did. At one point, Billy Zane is like, you have great features to Nicole Kidman. I can tell when you're 80, you're going to still look beautiful. And Nicole Kidman's proven that. She's 80 and she's still beautiful. Sam Neill is great in it, but Sam Neill is good in almost anything except for Jurassic World, the last Jurassic World movie, which you could tell he did not want to be in at all. Billy Zane is over the top good in this. He can go from smiling, laughing, and dancing in 1 minute to completely psychotic the next. And you believe this is actually how this guy is. And he is just over the top good. I mean, he should have won an Oscar for this movie. I don't know who won an Oscar that year. It was probably either Jack Nicholson or Tom Hanks, because they've won like 80 Oscars between the two of them. But it should have been Billy Zane that year, because he's just so good in this movie. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, bug, whatever it is. I mean, this movie's just great. It's well worth the $4 you pay on Prime or whatever it costs on Apple TV. Well worth the money. It's not a free one. Next week we're doing a free one. We're doing Evil Tunes. It's on Freevee. So join me next week when we do Evil Tunes. This week's movie was Dead Calm. Well worth any money you pay to rent it. It's a great movie. You just got to see it. Next week is Evil Tunes. See you next week.